All right. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Political Insider Live. I'm James, your host, and we have a very special guest with us today, Ms. Juanita Broaddrick. Say hello to Juanita, everybody. Let's show her some love in the comments. Guys, this is big. We have a big show for you guys today, big broadcast, and we want to, bring on Juanita and have her share her story. So a lot of our readers are familiar, but Juanita, do you want to tell them all a little more about yourself?
Sure. Of course, I've just recently written a book about 6 months ago about my rape by Bill Clinton back in 1978. And I'm just anxious to see if they want to ask me any questions for those that don't know.
Right. So so you wrote the book. So why did you write the book when you did? And what's the main message of it, would you say?
Well, the main message, and really a lot comes home when you realize that just about 2 months ago, when Snyderman's victims came forward,
right,
funeral of the state of New York, I was a businesswoman and a registered nurse. My rapist, Bill Clinton, was the Attorney General of the state of Arkansas. And it really hit home to me when these victims of Snyderman said, what do you do when your abuser is the highest law enforcement official in the state? Yeah. I thought, my God, that's exactly where I was 40 years ago.
Yeah, I never thought about that parallel. That's right. Schneiderman got busted. He was a huge liberal icon. Everyone painted him as this big enemy of Trump and a big defender of women. And then we learned about all his weird, nasty exploits. So.
Yeah, exactly. And people will continually say, well, she didn't come forward. She didn't say anything about it when it happened. I was scared to death. Yeah. And also, Bill Clinton was the Attorney General of the state of Arkansas. I own nursing homes, and he regulated my businesses. Right. It was a no-win situation for me back then.
Yeah, no, definitely. We hear you. So how did you come to know Bill? Like, how did you come to know Bill Clinton? I mean, obviously, the cover of your book, there's a picture of you guys younger, and yeah, how did that actually happen? How did you get within his vicinity, guys?
Well, back in 1978, I had been in business for about 3 years. And one of my friends told me that they were going to a Bill Clinton for Governor Volunteers meeting, and would I like to go? And I'd seen his commercials on TV, and they were so good. And everybody was excited about Bill Clinton being governor and being able to vote for him. So I went to the meeting, and I became involved in his campaign. After my office hours, I would go around and put up campaign signs and hand out information. And about 30 days after I'd been working in the campaign, his state office called and asked if he could come by my nursing home when he was in the area on a campaign tour.
Okay, and we were
so excited. We couldn't hardly wait.
Right.
Yeah, until he got there. And it was so exciting. So many of the families came in to meet Bill Clinton, and we were just all ready, waiting for him. He comes in. The newspaper asks for a photo op, and that's what you see on the front of my book. And after the photo op was over, he comes over to me and starts talking to me and says, all these niceties. And if you've heard so many people say, whenever you talk to Bill Clinton, you have his full attention.
The perfect politician.
Yeah, he never loses eye contact. And so I was experiencing this, and I thought, I need to tell this man who may be governor about the dire problems that we're having with the nursing home reimbursement. And I began to tell him about it. And he sort of stopped me, and he said, are you ever in Little Rock? I said, yeah, I'll be there in about 3 weeks. They're at a nursing home seminar. And he said, well, try to see me while you're there and bring me this information that you're talking about. And I just couldn't believe it. I was so excited. So 3 weeks later, my nurse and I leave for Little Rock after work. And when we arrive in Little Rock, the very next morning, we get up, we call his campaign office, and the young lady answers the phone and says, he's not here today, but would you call this number? And she acted like she knew who I was when I told her my name and was expecting my call. That surprised me. I call him and I say, would it be possible for me to run over to your office at noon when I have an hour break from the seminar and bring this information? And he said, I'm not going to be at the office today. He said, can I just come to your hotel now? And it sort of took me back a little. And he said,
yeah, that's what's strange.
I said, yes, that would be great. And so he said, okay, I'll call you when I get to the coffee shop and we'll meet down there. And so I turned to Norma and I said, you go on to the meeting and sign us in. And when I'm through in the coffee shop, I'll be right on to the meeting. So I wait in the room for the call. And in a few minutes, the phone rings and it's Bill Clinton. And he says, it's just so crowded down here and there's reporters. Could we just talk about this and have coffee in your room?
Wow.
And I can remember being a little bit apprehensive, but it was so important that I talked to him. It was just really important. And he was the Attorney General of the state. I mean, I didn't fear it. I was a little uneasy. I'd never been alone in a hotel room with a man I didn't know. And so I told him, yes, I'd order coffee to the room. Well, in a little while, after the coffee comes, I mean, it's probably 20 minutes. And, I thought about this afterwards. I'm wondering if he waited out somewhere until the room service left with the coffee so he wouldn't be seen. So in comes the coffee, and about 60 seconds later, I hear the knock on the door. And I open the door, and this should have been a tip-off right immediately. He stands in a dark hallway with his sunglasses on.
Wow.
It was very strange to me. So
I
ushered him on in, over to the table where I had the coffee poured. Was going to pour the coffee.
Yeah.
And he comes in, and he takes off his suit coat, lays it over the chair, and then begins to talk about something he sees down on the river. My room pointed toward the Arkansas River and buildings and everything down there. And he says, come here a minute and look at this little building down there. So I walk around to where he is, and he begins to tell me that it's an old 1800 jailhouse that when he becomes governor, he wants to restore. Well, I should never have walked around that table. I should have leaned over from where I was and looked down at that building. I don't know. Who knows on looking back at horrible things like this. And I don't go into the rape. It's just too difficult to handle. Things went from bad to worse. He started trying to kiss me. I kept saying no. And then when he shoved me back on the bed, I began to scream. That's when he bit my lip. And if I ever screamed, when I screamed or became very loud, anytime thereafter, that's when he would bite my top lip.
Wow.
And it was the most, I can't even hardly tell you, remembering back, even though it's been 40 years, it's painful to think about it.
Yeah, I can imagine. I can't imagine, actually. It's horrible.
It's just horrible.
Yeah.
After the rape was over, and I tried to gather myself, pull my torn clothes, the sheet up around my torn clothes as I sit up on the side of the bed, and I am having this gut cry. And this man looks at me, and it's a cross between confusion and bewilderment and frustration too. And he looks at me, and I've just come out with this statement that I also put in my book. And he says to me, very, very sort of harshly, he says, don't worry, I'm sterile. I had mumps when I was a child. And I thought, my God, why are you telling me that? You just raped me.
Yeah.
And I'm still crying. And he calmly puts on his coat, gathers himself, walks to the door, puts on his sunglasses, and then he motions to my mouth, which is swollen twice the size and bleeding.
Yeah.
Says, you'd better put some ice on that.
And that's where the title of the book comes from.
Cold, walked out the door.
Wow. Unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Yes.
And I mean, I know, yeah, this occurred and you brought the story out later when he was president, but you were Me Too before there was ever Me Too. Like you rang the alarm about him. You went to the media. The media didn't listen. You know, they let you tell your story, but then they maligned you in the media, or they maligned you and they said terrible things about you and they didn't believe you. And, you know, they basically circled around Clinton. They protected him. And it was awful to see. And now, so, you know, in the past, however long it was, I guess it seems like a while, but I guess it's only since last fall when the Harvey Weinstein stuff happened and the Me Too thing took off. I mean, did you expect Bill Clinton to be you know, questioned about this, as we've seen in recent weeks?
Oh, no, I was shocked.
Okay.
You know, I've always known Bill Clinton's true colors. Yeah. But for somebody to bring that out on the NBC show, you know, it shocked me. But then after the shock, I got to thinking, my God, you had your opportunity to ask him about the real victims. Right. You know, Monica Lewinsky, I understand, was a victim, but not the real victim.
Yeah, did you find that? I'm guessing you're finding that very disappointing, right? Because you know, he brings up Monica Lewinsky, which was bad enough, but everybody already knew about that. But there's you and there's others that no one has mentioned yet, and you know, is that? I mean, I can just imagine that's how frustrating that is.
Oh yeah, and then for him to come out in that Judy Woodruff interview and say that you just can't do things against people's will in today's time. Now, I could not believe he was ignorant enough to say that. You would think that how the left is, how liberals are, that right there is a huge signal, right? Because that sounds like your old typical 1940s, 50s mindset, you know, where men do whatever they want and women just don't say a word about it. And he just says that, and nobody calls him out on it. And no,
unbelievable.
I did on Twitter.
Yeah. I mean, there's people on our side who are calling him out constantly for this, but it's like a huge faux pas, and I mean, it's, you know,
it's absolutely disgusting. And you know, I got some approval back in 1999 when I did the NBC Dateline interview. Right. You know, it was mainly everyday people. The media was so harsh. And I have to tell you, James, I went by all of those years and I never would have come forward had I not been outed by the Paula Jones suit. Right. I had a comfortable life. My businesses were going well. Right. And I worked myself to death. And this is just something I never wanted to come to light.
So can you tell us a little more about that? So the Paula Jones suit came out because that was a few years before you had gone public or live with everything. Right. So that had come out, and then did people start digging? There were people contacting you. How did that happen?
All from the early 90s. There was always the rumors. People knew it. The 5 people I told probably told somebody else. So this was rumored in Arkansas. It was no secret. But I completely avoided anybody. And then in either 96 or 97, I had 2 investigators show up on my front porch. Wow. And it's surprising to tell you who they were. Their name was Rick and Beverly Lambert. They had a private investigation firm, and they were working for the Paula Jones attorneys. Well, they happened to be the parents of Miranda Lambert.
Oh, wow. Small world.
But anyway, they showed up on my front porch. It's before I had my security fence and gate. Yeah. And come to my front door, and I walk out on the porch, and it was a nice-looking man and woman. I thought I'll talk to them, see what they want. And I told them in so many terms that, no, I will not come forward, and no, you can't make me really relive the most horrible incident of my life. Well, come to find out they were recording me.
Wow.
No idea. This transcript is on the internet.
Wow.
When they recorded me. And so I just went back in the house and I thought, well, no, everything's fine. I told them, you know, I'm not coming forward. And then I get a letter that I have been designated Jane Doe number 5 in the Jones versus Clinton suit.
Wow.
So I went to that suit.
Mm-hmm.
I was mad.
I can imagine.
Jones. I didn't know anybody.
Right,
I did not want to be dragged into this. So I told my attorney that, no, this is not true. And when we have the deposition, I will say it's not true.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I did not want anything to do with this. And then I left that deposition and thought, again, this is all through. Now, I don't have to worry about this anymore and go on with my life. Then here comes Ken Starr.
Yeah.
And my son is an attorney.
Okay.
And he called me and he said, Mom, the attorney got a letter from Ken Starr. You're going to be deposed. And I said, well, I'm going to say the same thing. He said, I'm coming over to talk to you.
Yeah.
This was the attorney in him.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
In my kitchen, I'll never forget it. And showed me the letter and said, this is serious. He said, what happened with Paula Jones was a civil lawsuit. He said, this is federal. This is serious. Okay, it's time to tell the truth. He had known for years since he was a teenager.
Sure.
What happened to me, probably he was 19. And he said, it's time. It's time to come clean. So that's what I did with Ken Starr's people.
Right.
And what angers me is that so many people say Ken Starr found her unbelievable and thought she had lied.
Right.
They did not. They were so kind to me. Dave Schiffer's people were so kind to me and gave me immunity for the first one.
Okay.
On the Paula Jones thing, if I would just tell the truth, and I did. The reason is I had not been threatened during his presidency.
Right.
There was no obstruction of justice. I hadn't been bought off. But yes, they did believe me.
Wow. I actually didn't realize the backstory about that Paula Jones, that's how you kind of got dragged into this, and it wasn't, you weren't. I mean, how the media painted it back then was that you had come out and that you were raising a stink because it was, he was president and it was easy to do, and it just
right.
Yeah.
They'll do anything that they can.
Right.
The victims look bad. That's what they did.
Yeah.
Until Lisa Myers, I had an ongoing friendship with Lisa Myers for a year. It took her a year to get me to come forward. And this was right after the Ken Starr deposition when I came forward on Dateline. And then NBC holds it until after the impeachment hearing.
Oh, yes, I remember that. Yeah.
And Lisa Myers and all of her crew, when they showed up at my house, said, we're going to get this done, get it edited, and get it all done, and we'll have this on TV before, the impeachment's over. That was what they were supposed to do, is run it in 10 days. Well, they didn't run it until 6 weeks later, and not after I had done an in-depth interview with Dorothy Rabinowitz at the Wall Street Journal. That forced their hand.
Yeah.
But they had to show it.
Right.
They show it opposite the Grammys.
So not only did they delay the broadcasting of it, but they showed it during another high-profile event when less eyes would be on it.
Exactly.
Unbelievable. And is it your hunch that they did it to protect Clinton, to make sure that that it didn't influence the impeachment trial?
Well, one of the producers, a young lady, and I won't mention her name, told me that Clinton and Andy Lack were very close friends, and of course he was the president of the news bureau from NBC, and that they played golf once a week. What does
Good old boys club.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's all crazy, and we all know, people that didn't trust the liberal media spin about these kind of things. We all knew that this had happened, and this had been swept under the rug for so long, and after this happened, Hillary starts to rise politically, becomes senator, runs for president a few times. Has she ever acknowledged you? Has she ever said anything to you? Have you ever had anything at all communication-wise to do with the Clinton camp since then, or just all stonewall and silence.
So I don't know if you know about when she threatened me 3 weeks after the rape.
No, you could, no, please.
Okay, that's in my book too.
Okay, great.
About 3 weeks after the rape, well, prior to the rape, I was involved in the campaign.
Mm-hmm.
And I had arranged for a fundraiser at my friend's home, Buddy Criswell and Betty Criswell. Buddy was my dentist, and Betty and I played tennis together. And so they had this beautiful home, and I encouraged them and got them to have the fundraiser at their house.
Mm-hmm.
Well, here I am 3 weeks later, and I call Betty and I say, I'm sorry, I'm busy at work and I'm not going to be able to be there, but I'm going to run all the information up to you. And I said, but I can't stay. There's no way I wanted to come in contact with those two. So I get up there about 6:30. Fundraiser was at 7. And I go in, give Betty the information. And I also had a few checks that people had given me for his campaign. And I gave them to the state chairman of his campaign when she came in.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I didn't make it out in time. Okay. Just as soon as I started to head for the front door, told Betty I had to go. Here comes Chuck Watts. He was a local pharmacist.
Okay.
And he was the one that drove them from the airport to the home.
Mm-hmm.
And he rushes over to me. Chuck had no idea what had happened to me 3 weeks prior. And he said, you're not going to believe this. He said, the topic of the conversation all the way from the airport was the Clintons asking me questions about you.
Wow.
And I almost fainted, and I thought, I've got to get out of here. So again, I head to the front door, and before I get there, here comes Hillary Clinton straight for me.
Oh, man.
Okay, so here I am. I'm caught. I see this woman coming toward me smiling, and I'm thinking, oh, my God, here comes that poor woman. I didn't know who they were. I mean, here comes a poor woman that's married to that horrible monster.
Right.
She comes over to me, takes a hold of my hand, and says, it's so nice to meet you. She said, I just want you to know how appreciative Bill and I are for everything that you do in this campaign. And I was about to faint at that time anyway. Yes. So I let go of her hand. I could have said thank you. I could have just nodded. And I turned to leave. I thought, I've got to get out of here. And just as I turned to leave, somebody grabs my arm, and I thought it was Betty or someone behind going to say, hey, bye. I turn around, and Hillary Clinton has this firm grip on my arm.
Oh.
She turns me around to her, and she says,
wow.
Do you understand everything you do? I thought, my God, I knew right then who that woman was.
Yeah.
And I had to get out of there. And I left.
Yeah.
At that part, in the NBC Dateline, when I tried to tell that, Lisa Myers and I had talked about this. And when I tried, Lisa Myers says, Juanita, have you ever been threatened? I say, yes, I have, by Hillary Clinton. And I start to tell this. And the producer rushes into where we were filming and says, no, we cannot mention Hillary. We cannot go into anything. Only Bill Clinton.
Why do you think that is?
And Lisa looks at me, and so they had to edit that out.
Well,
they would not allow that to be put in.
Why did they do that? Was it a legal thing? Were they protecting her?
I have no idea.
That's
have
crazy.
No idea. Not to this day. But it shocked Lisa Myers and I both.
Wow. That's crazy. So, yeah, I mean, you wrote the book, right? You want to exposing all of this and more. If you guys want to check it out, if you click the link on our story, we have a link to Juanita's book, and you can check that out. This is incredible stuff. I mean, and it's so timely compared to what's been going on. I mean, Clinton's getting called out. He's on this book tour now, and it's unbelievable. I mean, it's good timing that it's finally happening, but it's unbelievable that it's gone this long without it being taken seriously. Now, we've seen a few other folks come out, that wouldn't normally, be on your side. So I remember like a few months ago, Chelsea Handler, the comedian, she said she believes you. Was that surprising or what?
Yeah, that did surprise me. We had sort of a little war going on Twitter
Yeah.
for a while. And then in October or November of last year, Michelle Goldberg with the New
Oh,
York
right.
Times.
Right.
Yeah, she comes out with her article, I Believe Juanita. And Kristen Gillibrand, you know,
Yeah,
whenever
New York Times, or New York Senator, yeah.
Kirsten someone, I can't remember. It's remarkable how many people are waking up. And you have to wonder, did they know? And is it now because the Clintons are losing their power that they feel something to come forward? Who knows why?
I mean,
this has happened.
It is coincidental, you know. All the Me Too thing happens. Bill Clinton loses his luster in the public. I mean, like you just mentioned, Kirsten Gillibrand coming out and saying that, you know, she would have probably supported impeachment or whatever. She had said something disparaging about them, even though, what was it, a year ago they were hugging each other and next to each other at the DNC, best of friends. So it's crazy. You know, you want to think the best and say that they've had a change of heart, but it's like, is it a change of heart or is it just politically convenient now?
I think it's politically motivated, except in the case of some of the reporters who've called me,
right,
and expressed sorrow at not believing me before now. There's many of those, but when you talk about Me Too, Me Too is absolutely a liberal movement. The Me Too wants nothing to do with the Clinton victims, have never acknowledged us. In fact, 2 months ago, when Tarana Burke was having one of her Me Too big organizational meetings, one of my followers on Twitter showed up and they were having a question and answer period. And she asked, why do you not ever talk about the Clinton victims? And she was escorted out of the meeting.
Really?
Yes.
That's crazy. Now, is it just the still same mentality? Got to protect the Clintons. Got to make sure that they're not, swept up in this. Is that, you think that's?
I don't know, but it's terribly disappointing that they don't ever include us.
Yeah, that is sad. I mean, you see so many of these big names going down, like Kevin Spacey and even Bill Cosby. You know, of all these people.
Cosby.
Yeah, of all these people.
If the Clinton victims, like the Cosby victims, only had an Andrea Constand, which would have happened within the last 10 years, then we could take this predator to court. But we don't have any. If anybody out there is a victim of Bill Clinton in the last 10 years, for God's sake, come forward.
Yeah. So I mean, I hate to ask, but do you think anything will come of it eventually? I mean, there is. You said the Me Too movement's not interested in Clinton victims at all. They don't care. They're not reaching out to you guys. I mean, do you think we'll ever see any kind of accountability for what he did? I mean, this would be the time to strike now, right?
Well, sure, but you have a 7-year statute of limitation in our country. So unless that's changed, no. I can't really see, unless there's a recent victim, that we could all go and testify in favor for. Yeah. I can't see him ever being brought down on this, unless he does a deathbed.
Deathbed confession. It's very frustrating. You see him getting called out, and it's just for Monica Lewinsky, and it's just such a shame that the victims like you and Paula Jones and other women aren't mentioned at all. It's just kind of like looked over and ignored, and then everyone looks at Lewinsky, and it's just very, very frustrating. So, I mean, I'm sorry. I'm sorry about all of that, but I'm glad you're ringing the alarm and making more people aware of this. And I mean, the timing, like I said before, couldn't be better. He's back in the news, and he seems to be tripping over his own feet trying to even talk about anything without having, the Lewinsky thing brought up. So
I know, it's very disgusting.
Yeah. But is there anything else you wanted to talk to us from your book? Any other things that the public may not know about, might find interesting in regards to the whole incident?
No, I really can't.
Okay, that's okay. No, I mean it's up to you. Anything you want to talk about from the book?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Great. Guys, did you see any good Facebook questions? Anybody else? I mean, I've been monitoring the Facebook feed next to me here, and you've got a lot of love on here. People love you, and they really hate Bill Clinton, and they're glad to see him finally getting called out. And I mean, it is fun to watch those interviews, him being called out and him getting so flustered and going crazy, and just it's insane to think that he could get away with it for so long and not ever be called out. So,
but thanks to all your audience.
They're all big fans. They're sending a bunch of those little love emojis up right now. They're huge. They love you. They're huge, and they love that you keep up the fight. And I'm sure most of them follow you on Twitter. If you guys don't follow Juanita on Twitter or Facebook, please make sure you do. You're very feisty on Twitter, I will say. I see you. I see you calling people out all the time, and it's great. I mean, it's.
Yeah, you know how that came about.
How did that come about?
Well, it's when Hillary in 2015 made this statement: every survivor of sexual assault deserves to be heard,
right,
believed, and supported. We're with you. I went ballistic.
Oh my God, I can imagine.
So I called my grandson to teach my 12-year-old grandson to teach me how to use Twitter.
Oh yeah.
So that's when I tweeted the first time when I did that.
Right. Okay. So he called in the expert, and showed you the ropes. And he called her out, and it's a good platform for doing that. So I know people love watching you, hold these guys accountable. Because first, I mean, there are a lot of people now calling out Clinton, but there's still a lot of deniers and still a lot of people who refuse to acknowledge it. So it's always good to give them a nice, good reminder that, he's not the liberal women defender he pretends to be.
You might be interested to know, a week after my tweet went out on January the 6th of 16, Hillary removed "You Should Be Believed" from her website.
Nice. I wonder why that happened. But great. Wonderful. Well, thank you again, Juanita, for joining us. I mean, we really appreciate you coming on. And like I said, guys, if you guys go to our website, go to the story that's in the comments and in the link, you guys can get linked to Juanita's book and check it out. It's awesome. It's great that she's exposing all of this stuff. I mean, the timing couldn't be better, like I've said. And it's about time that people tell the story. People tell your story, other people's story that have been victims of Clinton. I mean, it's a travesty that it's gone on this long, and we're out now finally starting to really talk about it and delve deep. So
that's right.
So
years from now, people are not going to believe what we went through. They're not going to believe it.
I definitely, and it's a shame that like I said, it's gone this long, and at least finally people are finally starting to wake up, and he's getting called out. So there's a little bit of solace in that, I guess.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you again, Juanita, for joining us. It's been a great pleasure. Our audience really appreciates it. They're sending you a lot of love right now. But yeah, thank you so much. And hopefully we can have you back on some other time, next time Bill Clinton puts his foot in his mouth or something like that.
Sure, let's do it again.
All right. Thank you, Juanita.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.